President Biden is accelerating his reelection campaign, taking a trip through two of the so-called blue wall states, Wisconsin and Michigan.
And he stopped in Saginaw, Michigan for one of his kitchen table conversations. And our ABC News contributor and our friend LZ Granderson was the only reporter invited to be in the room, and he joins us now from Michigan. Always good to see you.
It's great seeing you guys as well.
Of course, and thanks for coming on. So you were in the room when the president met with Saginaw resident Hurley Coleman III and his 13-year-old son. How did this meeting come about, and what were some of the highlights?
Oh, wow. Well, the campaign had been orchestrating these sort of kitchen table conversations with the president, very intimate settings, posting video socially, but really trying to keep the moment between the president and voters as he goes around and trying to figure out what Americans want from him in his second term if he were to be reelected, but also just how the current term is going for him. And so the Saginaw visit was with the father and son, as you mentioned earlier. They actually are a long lineage. The son is actually the fourth. And so the President Biden and the son and the father had an opportunity to talk about the lineage of family, because as we know, family is very important to President Biden. So it's really a great moment just to see the president connect with voters in terms of not just, legislative issues, but just personal and cultural issues, and talking about family as well.
I'm curious where Hurley Coleman III stands politically and what he was wanting to hear from the president.
Well, he's definitely is a Biden supporter. I would think it's safe to say that many of the people he's met with, the president's met with, have been previous voters or supporters. But with that being said, I thought some of the questions that Mr. Third, I would call him, was asking were very astute. He was a supporter of the Biden administration, but he also wanted to talk about the economy and what he and his community have been experiencing and going through.
All right, LZ, let's talk numbers if we can. The Democratic primary in Michigan revealed that there are more than 100,000 uncommitted voters protesting President Biden's handling of the war in Gaza. So what does Biden have to do to win that group of voters over?
Well, I think you're starting to see him acknowledge the discontent that's happening from some of the progressives on this side of the party. Whether it's a stronger rhetoric when it comes to talking about Netanyahu and the need to be careful in terms of harming innocent civilians during the war, or even the strong words from Senator Chuck Schumer this week, asking Israel to maybe reconsider its leadership. I think what you're seeing right now is the Democratic Party is acknowledging that there are members who are not happy with the Biden administration's handling of this. And the Biden administration is being very forceful in trying to pressure Israel to be more cautious in terms of how it's going about trying to eliminate Hamas.
Let's talk about where you are right now. There's a very high concentration of black voters in that area where Biden was and where he was on Wednesday as well. Do you think he's doing enough to energize black voters?
Well, I think he's doing a very good job of trying to use word of mouth. I can't speak to any other racial group, but as a black person, I can certainly tell you word of mouth is still a very effective way of getting important information out there. And so these kitchen table conversations aren't designed to gather a large group of people for him to belt out rhetoric and, red meat to a crowd, but rather to get to know people more personally. And I do think that if you do that with black voters in particular, we would talk with one another in our churches, in our schools, in our barbershops and salons, and talk honestly about the interaction with the president. One of the things that I think he's doing that's really smart is because so much focus and discontent has been on what Congress was not able to do. Congress did not pass comprehensive criminal justice reform and things of the nature that Biden campaigned on. But Biden is using this opportunity to talk about the things that he was able to do. Case in point, while he was in Milwaukee, he announced a $36 million project, part of the infrastructure bill, to help reconnect neighborhoods. Now, what does that mean? Well, during the 1950s and 60s, during the construction of the highway systems, many of the neighborhoods where black people and as well as Latinos and Asian Americans lived were ripped apart by the highway systems in order to get white rich people into the suburbs. Well, the Biden administration is announcing a multi-billion-dollar plan to go through the many communities across America that were torn apart by this reconstruction so that they can build those communities together. Milwaukee's got 36 million, more than 140 million is going to Atlanta, 140 million is going to Philadelphia, areas all across the country that were torn apart by segregation because of the highway system. The Biden administration is putting forth multi-billion dollars to try to reconnect that to help black people and other minorities. And one other thing I would point out that Biden is talking about, specifically in terms of black voters, looking at the judges that he's appointed. more than 66% of them are women. More than 66% of them are minorities. These are lifetime appointments, and when you compare them, which he has been doing to his counterpart, the former president, well, he only appointed 12% minorities, and less than 20% of the judges were women. So there's a stark contrast in terms of how the two administrations have tried to not just get the votes of women and minorities, but actually do things that help make sure they're represented in government as well.
All right, LZ, thank you.
Yeah, it's always good to have you on.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.